All right, let's face it. In high school, we all had that one English teacher. Well, that English teacher is me. I'm Brian Kulak, a career educator and author of The Hot Seat. Every week, I reconnect with former students, colleagues, and fascinating people to explore who they were, who they are now, and the wisdom they've gained along the way. Welcome to The Hot Seat. Hey, here we are, guys. What is up, Hot Seaters? Week 17 coming at you. Sorry, everybody else, but 2004 are the OGs. They are my favorite. And Nicole Bryan, but I know her as Brennan, is from that class. Brennan, how are you? Welcome.
Am I on?
You're on.
Okay.
You're like one of those old ladies that doesn't. I'll just get your.
Oh, I don't know
nostril.
anything. And I do telehealth, which is horrible because I'm always like to my patients, I'm horrible with technology. I'll just call you and we'll figure this out.
Did you have like somebody help you figure out how to do this?
Oh, no, I'm like sitting here like I could do this. He sent me instructions. I might have to call my 12-year-old in here, but hope
That's
I
what
figured it
Monica.
out.
Yeah,
So
Monica said last week she had to have her son help her. That's what our teams are certainly good for. Something stuff like that. So welcome. It's so good to. I haven't seen you in so long. Welcome.
I know. I feel like I've seen you though, because I've been like watching this show. So I'm like, I feel like I'm kind of ahead of the game. I'm like, all
Well,
right.
I appreciate it, and like I said to Monica last week, when I started thinking about how to do this, I had a long list of people that I thought would be really good for it, just based on our history, our relationships, things that happened. One of which we'll get into tonight with the guitar story, and
Yeah.
just your ability to kind of be in this space comfortably and vulnerably. So I knew that you were one of them, and you're unique because you never sat in the hot seat. You're one of the few
No.
people I know. You and then the big one is Siobhan, because Siobhan did the chair, created the chair, and she was an AP too. So other than the newspaper, which is how we came to be together, you would never know. So you're going to get your chance tonight. Just a few 19 years, 21 years later, you'll get a chance to be in the hot seat.
Hey,
Um,
better late than never. It's an
exactly.
honor.
So listen, I know that you said you watched, and you know that we start every show with "Who were you and who are you now?" Walk us through who little Nicole Brennan was and who big Nicole Bryan is now.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So I feel like this question is like a hot seat question.
It kind
Like
of is. You're right. Yeah.
honestly, I had such like anxiety about it. But I mean, I kind of have to start with this. Like, I grew up in a broken home. My parents were divorced. They got divorced when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
And I didn't have much relationship with my dad growing up. And as a family, we struggled a lot financially. And there was like a lot of trauma that happened in our family. So by high school, like I felt a lot of rejection actually. I had talents, especially in the performing arts.
Yep.
I agree with Monica. Like I loved being on that stage. It was awesome. But I really never quite fit in. I feel like I tried to be someone I wasn't a lot of times. And whether that
Really.
was like through going out and partying on the weekends, throwing parties at my house, like drinking,
Yeah.
unhealthy relationships, just like chasing love and attention in all the wrong places. And, on the outside, I probably looked like I was okay. Although I do remember you saying, you could tell if it was a good day or bad day just by looking at my face. But inside, I felt really empty and insecure. So when we graduated high school, my mom actually started going to a Christian church like in Haddon Heights. And she wanted me and my brothers to come. And I was kind of like, all right, like I'll give it a try. And I mean, I'll be honest, I thought it was like, I was very uncomfortable. Like I felt like these people are weird. Like nobody's this happy and nice. And like, but they were very warm and welcoming. And, I started to see a lot of positive changes in my mom. And so I was like, all right, like I'll listen to the sermons, I'll get, and by the end of that summer, they had a baptism, which actually was held at Mr. Kinner's house. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember the
Of course I
Kinners.
do. Yeah. I love the
Yeah,
Kennets.
so
Yeah.
me and
Yeah.
my brothers were baptized in his backyard. And that really began like my faith journey, but then also just my journey of like self identity and discovery. And I kind of equate it to like so there's you know maybe people have heard of like Paul the Apostle. He was the Hebrew of Hebrews. He kind of crucified a lot of Christians, and like he was knocked off his horse, and he had a radical encounter with Jesus, and his life was transformed and his name was changed. I didn't have that experience. Some people do. I was more like Peter, the disciple. He walked with Jesus for 3 years, and he struggled with doubt. He struggled with, you know, saying the wrong thing a lot, kind of being like that Jersey guy who just doesn't think before he talks, and a lot of compromise. And ultimately, he denied Jesus 3 times on the night of his betrayal, and that was more, my journey. Like, it was a lot of compromise. It was a lot of trying to figure it out. But when I committed my life to Jesus when I was 17, like, he never gave up on me. Like, he kind of met me where I was. He kept pursuing me. But I think I was always trying to fill a void, like something I didn't have as a kid, and that little girl just didn't have. And it wasn't really until I walked through a lot of trials that I understood more, of how to fill that void. And I lost my brother Tommy on 2017 to a heroin addiction, and that was, really hard for us to walk through as a family. But they talk about the peace that surpasses all understanding. Like, I felt that. I mean, I know where my brother is. He confessed that he, loved Jesus, and I mean, that's what the Bible says. You have to confess that, and you will be in heaven someday. And so, like, that peace that, like, shouldn't have really been there, watching him, going through his funeral, was there.
Yeah.
And then kind of walking through the hardest season of my life in 2024, just like hit me like a brick, man. Like, just life just happened hard. And God was with me through it all. Like, he showed me he was my provider. He kept, like, encouraging me that I was going to be okay. Like, when, I was single parenting it with 4 kids and doing my master's program and working, like, I didn't know how I was going to do it, but, I did it, and it was because of God. And so I guess, like, who I was then was just really insecure, and just really lost. And now I feel more confident in who I am. Like, I know who I am. I'm not trying to, live for people's approval. I don't really, if you like me, you like me. If you don't, it's okay. Like, I don't really care that much. And I'm just really confident in like, my purpose. Like, I really, like, found my footing, and through my own healing, to be able to help other people, who are walking through some really dark seasons. And, like, not that I can share my faith all the time with my patients, but I definitely try and point them in a direction of, like, there is hope. You can get better. This is just a really tough season. I'm here for you. I always tell them I'm on your team. I'm here to help you through this. And so I hope that answered your question.
It does. I mean, I have to tell you, like, I mean, I knew you were a woman of faith. We kind of, I think, hit that at some point, and I think you are emblematic of so many high school kids where, from where I sat as a teacher, I would have no idea. I mean, I knew your brothers. I didn't teach either one. Obviously, Joey didn't come to us after middle school, but I didn't teach Tommy, and I don't think I had any idea. And I think the stage probably was the perfect outlet for you to be somebody else, or to be who you are, right? So, like, if you are tasked with taking on these roles on the stage as outsiders and audience members, like, she's really good at, like, commanding the stage and being this person. But perhaps all of that was you actually getting a chance to be yourself, because you didn't have to don all the costumes that so many people need to don to get through high school. I mean, I had no idea, Brennan, to be honest with you. Like, you do present like you do right now, the smile on your face, and you were a good student, and you were a good person, and you made people laugh. And I had no idea. I don't know if I even knew until, what's it, 8:13, 5 minutes ago, that was your journey. But I think it's more common than people think. And I also think now, this comes up all the time, but as a girl dad, I think it falls on young women more than young men. I think
Yeah.
young men are encouraged and confident to be who they are earlier, despite the fact that young women mature faster. And I see it as an elementary principle. Like, you want to give me a class full of girls or a class full of boys, give me the girls every day. They just are more mature. They're, whatever. So, but as time goes on and you try to figure out who you are, and you're coming into womanhood and trying to figure out the hormonal stuff and dating and all that stuff, you have to put on a lot of masks. So it's interesting that the stage probably provided just as much for you as you did for it, right?
Oh
And I think
yeah, like
Monica's the same way.
I definitely loved it because I didn't have to be myself.
Right,
That was
right,
the best part of it, you know. And I could just go out there and like assume whatever role
right, right.
that was given, and I just came alive really because
Yeah.
I felt like I did enjoy making people laugh. You know, it's funny. Like I know you wanted to bring up this story, but my kids always ask like about my like they're like, "Oh, mom, tell us a story," you know, like I
About
don't
school, like about
have
high school?
no, just like about
Oh,
like
just in
my
general.
life, like
Yeah,
growing up, like what it
yeah,
was like. I mean,
yeah,
like, you know, Tommy's a legend in himself in a lot of ways to my kids, but like, of course, you know, Uncle Joe is like, you know, beyond like their
yeah, yeah,
hero.
yeah,
So like
yeah.
they hear a lot about his, you know, stuff. So they're always like, oh, like, mom, tell us about you. And I'm like, well, one time I dressed up as my teacher for Halloween and like sang a song, and they're like, why, like, they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like, I just decided I was going to act like my teacher
Oh
all
my God.
day. And it
Yeah,
just, you know, it just worked. But like, that, it surprises me that I did that because I wasn't like, I was not popular. And I don't mean that. And like, I love everybody I graduate with. I think we
yeah,
did. I have a very unique class. I have my
yeah. You do.
theories about why we were so close.
Really
And yeah.
interesting.
But like I'm like I can't believe like somebody so insecure would walk around like literally just hating on people all day because that's you know that was the joke, you were a
Yeah,
hater, so
yeah, yeah. It really is funny. I mean, that day was that does live in infamy. I
could
don't
you
know if
imagine if we had social media back then like
no, I don't know if I'd still have a job. Like I said to you in the pre-show, like so the story goes, everybody, that Brennan decided to dress up and be me.
I'm
And
trying to plug in my phone here.
was there somebody else in the room that day when you came in with the guitar? Was it just you?
um no, it was Tom Buckingham. I
Oh
had to
yeah,
think about it for a while. I'm like,
that's
I knew
right.
somebody else was there. It wasn't John Dutton, it was Tom,
Yeah.
so yeah.
And was it Hotel California? But you
Yeah,
said it
because you
too.
hated that song, so I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah. I
I have
really
to.
can't stand that song. And it's funny because people who know me and people who love me know you're right. I'm getting way. I mean, I'm way better than I was back then, Brennan. But like I have like I hate Jordan. I can't stand Will Smith. Like there's a whole list of things I can't take. Um, and Hotel California just happened to be one of those songs. I'm like, please stop playing. I hate the song. So you did it, and I was so uncomfortable. And I apologized this week over and over again about what a jerk I was. I just didn't know how to. I was so uncomfortable. And the now talking to you here 21 years later is that it really should have been you who was uncomfortable based on your high school experience, but you crushed it. You were me, and you probably did me better than I do. I mean,
Oh, it was definitely fun.
it was a wild day.
Yeah, it was wild.
So
But
we talked about again in the pre-show, and I'm not sure if I knew this part about you, but your journey to where you are now, and you're talking about your patience, is winding. So talk to us about how you got there and how politics were your first pit stop and on the way to where you are now.
yeah, so I absolutely love writing. You know, being a part of the school newspaper was like awesome. I just really
Yeah,
like telling stories. And I ended up going to Camden County the first semester, which sucked, but you know, I had to do it. And then I ended up transferring to Stockton, and they didn't have a journalism program there. So I was like, this is what I want to do. And they were like, all right, well, you can basically create your own major. So I took a lot of,
really.
yeah, it was, so they kind of like guided me to like take creative writing classes, and they're like, yeah,
Right,
you should
right.
really like, you know, do like current events. Like it wasn't like necessarily I was on the political science track, but the classes that I picked were very like um focused on current events or just like the history of like leading up to like some of the stuff that was going on in the world, and having a basis for that. And then they do this really cool thing called the Washington Internship Program. So like it's kind of like study abroad, but except you go to
Okay,
DC for a semester.
okay.
So I did that, and I actually worked for the Hill newspaper,
Mhm.
which is kind of interesting because back then, I feel so old, but they didn't have like social media, right?
Right,
So
right.
our job as interns was to be like the Congress blog. So like we would literally
Ah,
go to the Hill and we would ask congressmen and senators questions, and then we would post it on the website as if they were posting it themselves. So again, I wish social media was like around back then because I
yeah.
met so many people. Like, I mean, I was standing in line one day for the elevator and like somebody was like, yo, like they were like, sir, sir, sir. And so I could feel like somebody behind me. And I'm like, I just like turn around and like, boom, it's Ted Kennedy. And like, when I tell you he had the same, it's like those eyes, like
Yeah.
JF, like it was like, I just was like staring at him. Like I was like probably
Wow.
like
Yeah.
this girl, but it's just I was just like, wow, like, this I mean he's the legend. So after graduation, I got a job. I right out of college working for a state senator in New Jersey, who was like a new elect, but had been in politics for a while. And he was kind of like a blue dog. They
Mhm.
called him like more like conservative but Democrat. So I was his legislative aide, and I gotta tell you, that job was like super boring. But like I had all this ambition, like I'm gonna change the world. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
of
be
course.
like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a speech writer or something.
Yeah,
Like I just
yeah.
had like this fire in me. And it was like 2008, so Obama was coming up, and it was all
Yep,
about change and stuff.
yep,
So
yep.
but it just, I found that like working in politics wasn't as interesting as actually like writing about it.
Yeah,
Because even if you wanted to make change, like there was a lot of red tape. You kind of had
yeah.
to vote along party lines. To like get reelected and like keep it
Sure,
going. So
sure.
like
Yeah.
and I was like kind of, I didn't really want to play the game. And then I got married young too. Like Monica, I was 23 years old. So my husband was a newscaster, and he was at like an NBC station in Charleston, South Carolina. And
Okay.
so after we got married, we moved down there, and since I had worked for a Democrat, it was really hard to find a job in politics down
Down
there.
there, yeah.
But I still wrote, like I did so Charleston's like amazing. I don't know if you've ever been there, but they're
It's on my list for sure.
Oh, you got to go. I mean,
Yeah,
they
it's like
just
keep
like
hearing.
they don't have Italian food. Like I think if you literally open a pizza place down there, you can make a killing because they
Yeah,
just don't know how to do Italian. But everything else, the food's awesome. And I
yeah.
wrote for this like small newspaper doing like food reviews. So like I would go to these restaurants and just I mean like a food critic. I don't know what the heck I
That's
was doing.
amazing. I didn't
I
know
was
that.
just
That's
trying to get
amazing.
a free meal.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I did that. And then, I ended up working in the hospital system down there, just like as a secretary. And I just found out I just didn't want to stare at a screen all day. Like, I just didn't want to do that. And
Right.
I kind of was like praying about it. And then one day I just was like, I think God wants me to be a nurse. And like all the nurses I worked with were like, yeah, right. Like you can never do this. Like, you have to like wipe butts and stuff. And I'm
Right,
like,
right.
I think I can do it. And
Yeah.
they're like, all right. So I started from the beginning. Like I did, I was a CNA, and then I worked my way up. By the time we got back to New Jersey, I went to Our Lady of Lourdes, got my nursing degree, worked right in the ER outside of that. And just the ER was interesting because I thought my family was the only family struggling with heroin
Sure, we all do.
addiction.
Yeah,
Oh my
sure.
gosh, it was like an epidemic. And it was just like, my eyes were just really open to like that. And then I just kept going to school. Like I became a professional student really because it was like, I knew I wasn't going to be able to stay in the ER for 20 years and like make the money that some of the nurses were making after being there. So I just was like, I'll just be a nurse practitioner. And then I was going for critical care, and then COVID happened.
Okay.
And I don't know, COVID kind of changed my mind on things because I just felt like there were, different ways of treating one illness. Like even like the way it presented in my house. Like we all got it differently.
Okay.
Like it was
Yeah.
like so it was
Same.
like I just felt like I kind of looked into like functional medicine, but then I was like, eh. And then I ran into a friend. Oh, she's a really good friend now at a birthday party. And she was like, don't do critical care, do psych. And I'm like, dude, I worked in the ER. I can't deal with crazy people.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, for
and
sure.
she
Yeah.
was like, no, like that's like 1% of the population. Like just, we actually help them stay out of the hospital. So again,
Sure.
prayed about it and like
Yep.
literally went to church that met her on Saturday, the next day, our church, I go to True North in Mullica Hill, and they had a psychiatrist come and speak, and he was
Just
there
randomly on the day
just
after?
the
Yeah, that's
day
crazy.
after.
Yeah,
It's
that's
so
crazy.
crazy. I mean, this
Yeah.
stuff I can't really make it
Yeah.
up. And he was
Right.
just like, so True North is actually opening up a wellness center. It's really close to being done. A lot of the pastors there and staff like had their degrees in like counseling and stuff, like
Yep.
pastors. And so what he was talking about was like this approach to like, yeah, you're saved when you like commit yourself to Christ, like your
Right.
salvation, but like you're in the process of being saved. Like you're working it out. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't mean like you're
it's not like a switch that
yeah.
flips. Yeah,
Like
right.
there's just a lot of healing that needs to take place,
Yeah,
you know.
right.
And so I was like, all right. So then like I literally got on the phone. I reached out to some, psychologists that I knew, Christian psychologists, and like boom, I had like a mentor within a week. I contacted Rowan. I'm like, is it too late to change my track?
Yeah.
And they were like, no. And but I mean, I love it. I love what I do. I think that I think I always wanted to make a difference. That was like the heart of things, and
Right.
that's why I loved politics. I thought I could do it there. But, every day I get to just step into someone's stuff and like give them hope. And it's, I like being able to like help them tangibly and give them practical things, not just
Right.
like medicine, but
Right.
medicine's definitely a part of it.
Sure.
And it's good too for like being a Christian, because I think there's a stigma in general about medicine. And it's like, yeah, you can just like pray about this and I'm like, well, you can't just pray away bipolar. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, you can. Listen, Jesus could do anything. I'm not doubting him. But,
uh,
sometimes like I think, and I run into that a lot, like even not just with Christians, just like people being afraid of like, what are these
oh,
medications going
100%.
to do?
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
politics and mental health aren't even adjacent. They're not even in the same ballpark, let alone adjacent, right? Like, I mean, I know they probably should be in some ways, but so that's why your journey is so cool. And one of the things I love about the show and reconnecting with you guys is like my path was so stinking straightforward, Brennan. Like at 14, I was going to do this thing and I did it. I can't do anything. I joke about this all the time. I can't do anything else. I'm not equipped to do anything else. But the only thing I would do if education weren't presented to me is psychology. And what's cool is if you heard the intro, I was talking about my daughter, and we had dinner together last week, and we were talking about this. And I said, if tomorrow was the first day of college and you had to declare a major, what are you thinking? And she's like, either child psychology or speech pathology. I was like, oh my god, this is. And she's like, I just want to help kids. I'm like, oh my god, oh my god. Like in my dad heart, I'm like, don't overplay your hand here. Like, this is really exciting. I think she'd be
Yeah.
great at it. And we talked about like, do you think divorce has something to do with that? Do you think it was before the divorce? And she said, I just want to help people. I think it's the best way I can do it. And probably from watching the show that in for whatever reason, and I have my theories, just like you do about the class of '04, but mental health and like relationships come up every single episode. I don't care who the guest is. So my question to you that I've asked before is, but you're in a unique position to answer, and you used the word stigma before. Do you agree with me that the stigma attached to mental health and seeking therapy is diminishing? The negative stigma is diminished. I feel like more people it's like everybody's in therapy now, right? Like, do you
Yeah.
think there's a more positive narrative about mental health than there was certainly when you were growing up and I was growing up?
Oh yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
mean, I
Okay.
wouldn't have a
Yeah.
job, really.
Why?
I
So
mean,
why?
like,
What do you attribute it to?
I think honestly, I think COVID. I mean,
Okay.
I think that
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I think it was just a really big shift. There was so many shifts that happened. And I think that people realized that, like, especially when they started to be together in such a close, like, being home, like,
Yeah.
okay, our marriage isn't really that great, or our relationship with our kids isn't really that great, or you know what, I'm not really, handling, this transition well, like, and then people started to go back to work. I have so many patients who like they have such fear of being in social
Sure.
situations
Yeah. Yeah.
because like they couldn't do it. Like
Right.
and so I think that I think social media has definitely played a role. I mean, I'm going up against TikTok every day when I talk to young patients. It
Yeah.
sucks in a way because
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
don't watch TikTok. Like I actually studied this stuff. I don't know
Yeah.
who's, but
Yeah.
so I think it's just out there more, and which is a good thing, but then like I said, like I think people can overdiagnose themselves and like
100%. That's
and
so
I
true.
find it a lot more in like younger patients, so I have to kind of like, I don't know, dismantle that those beliefs a little
Yeah,
bit and
yeah,
just be
yeah,
like, listen, like now, like let's talk about this. Let's like
yeah,
actually look at the criteria and,
yeah,
the
yeah,
situation. So,
yeah. I mean, I see it obviously every day in school. I know I can walk down the hallway and tell which kids you mentioned are having a bad day. They wear it all over their faces. I'm guilty of it too. And I'm also privy to a lot more information than it would be if I was a teacher. Like I know about the trauma that kids are coming to us with. I know about the horrible things that have happened to them. But for 7 hours, we get this unique opportunity to be with these kids in a safe place that's controlled and predictable. We have mental health services in place, which did not exist when we were in school. We have an elementary wellness team in my school. It's a team. It
that's
is stinking.
awesome.
It's stinking phenomenal. I can't tell
Yeah.
you how often today, every day, I throw things to them and they swoop in and they figure out how to help the kid. And I mean, my strategies are typically I put my dad hat, honey, well, tell me what's going on. What's happening? I'll rub their back and somebody hurt their feelings. They got stung by a bee, whatever. In elementary school, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but I can't imagine what that looks like at the secondary level where I made my bones, in the beginning of my career. Because now you mentioned TikTok, but social media and just I think the pressure the kids are under to be Instagram and TikTok worthy it's pretty intense, man. Like I don't know. I mean, I think my kids do a really good job of navigating it, but at any given moment, something could come across that social media platform and make them feel less. And
Yeah.
well, I
I
don't
mean,
think
I don't
we're
personally even let my oldest has a phone, but he doesn't have social media.
right.
He's 12. But
Yep, yep,
I mean, I think that it's actually funny because I have a couple teachers as patients, and it's
sure.
interesting hearing their perspective. And like they really noticed such a decline in the way the kids were responding to them. Like they love teaching and they love being but it was like they couldn't, I mean, the phones, just like them
Yeah,
being on their phones and like not communicating with each other and not really like connecting with them. And
right,
now,
right.
I they are saying like it's getting a little bit better. And I think like New Jersey is one of, I think only 17 states that haven't implemented like the no
The
phone,
band,
like,
yeah,
yeah. And like
yeah,
honestly, like I can agree with it. I mean, I know it's like it's good. You want to get in touch with your kid. I totally get that in today's
sure,
climate, but I think
sure.
that having those boundaries, they actually want them. I think they
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
I
I
think,
agree.
I mean, a lot of the kids that I see, the teenagers I see, they don't even want to do therapy over the internet because they want a real person.
Yeah,
Like I think there's like this disconnect between real reality and like just sitting with somebody and being in a room with somebody and being vulnerable with somebody, like,
yep, yep,
because
yep.
they're so used to looking on their phone and hearing like all these like people just talk about all these like really personal things all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, so I'm glad you're doing it. I think you're a perfect person for it. I think you have a career that's going to be long in this field. But it's just a cool story. And like I said, I mean, my path was straightforward, and there are some folks who've been on the show who are similar. Like, Pat Barker comes to mind. He was funny in high school. He's like, I'm going to go be in LA and I'll be funny out there and make a living at it. So like that was his thing.
yeah,
But I think there's something to be said about the winding path. I can't speak to it because I didn't live it, but I think the winding path, again, we can make a strong case that the path is the thing that matters, not the destination. Like you got where you got, for you through faith and the things that happen in your family, but you're supposed to be there and now you're there.
yeah.
Um, all right. So are you ready for your hot seat question?
Okay.
All
I
right.
think so.
So what I do is, and I know you watch, but for the people who might not know, I really try to cater. I offer two questions. No one has ever taken the second question, but I say every week, please feel free to. I try to cater to the person I'm talking to as if we're in a bar or in a coffee house or whatever. And just talking to you in the pre-show stuff and knowing you and your family, this is the one I came up with. So take it or leave it. I'm curious about the answer should you choose it. So my question is, how did, and I guess continue to fit in your family? Not your family with your children, but with your family growing up. Were you the outlier? Were you the glue person? Or you the pariah? Like, how did you function in your family as you grew up? What was your role?
Oh, I it's funny you asked this because I actually wanted to mention this, like with everybody who's kind of brought up stuff. So I actually went to this support group called Adult Children of Alcoholic and Dysfunctional Families. It's ACA. It's actually like
Okay.
kind of like a 12-step program for like kids who grew up in
For the kids,
dysfunctional
right? Okay.
homes.
Yep.
But anyway, they talked about this. It's in the, they talked about the role that you played, and it's like crazy because you like see yourself. So I was the glue. I mean, I
That's
was
what I
kind of,
figured. Yeah.
yeah, I was the glue. I always was just trying to keep everybody together, especially as I, moved out of the home. My mom lost the house. So, we haven't, that house isn't ours anymore in Audubon. And it was really tough, especially on my younger brother, Joey, because he was in Wisconsin and like
Right.
no home. So
Right.
my family and, my home became everybody's home, and kind of where we met and we did things and the holidays and things
Yep.
like
Yep.
that. But
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I was always the one that kind of, even through a lot of Tommy's struggles, like, I was the one who got the calls, like that,
Yeah.
he overdosed or, I mean, I would be like, I was living in Virginia at the time. I'm getting a call from like
Yeah.
who he's with. I'm like, dude, I'm in Virginia. Like, there's not, you know what I mean? Like, where,
Yeah.
what, so yeah, that was definitely my role. It still kind of is. I mean, but, I'm so close with my brother Joey now. Like, I mean, we talk every day.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah, we're
great.
like best friends, and his faith is really strong too. His him and Tommy, like, they grew apart so much, and so when Tommy went to rehab finally and like really like started to get clean, like they reconnected as brothers. It was like the Brennan brothers were
Yeah.
back,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then it kind of sent him, like after he passed away, it just sent Joey on this like journey. So I feel like I leaned on him a lot in 2024, like, just, even though he's younger than me, he was like my
Doesn't
rock
matter.
during that
Yeah. It
time.
doesn't matter. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still kind of the glue of everything, I would
I
say.
thought so. And it's a heavy lift, if I can be honest, because I feel like I serve in that role too. And I think being the oldest has something to do with that. I think you
Yeah,
just expect it to. And honestly, it's a role that I embraced for a while and then moved away from quite angrily for a while. Like, I'm tired of this.
yeah.
But then I came back. Then I realized this is kind of, and I'm so comfortable with it. And I think our brother journeys are very similar. I'm very lucky that my brother is still alive and thriving now and clean, and I'm so proud of him in so many ways. But it wasn't for a long time. I mean, it was hard for a long time, right? So, um, being a glue person it's a nice badge to put on your chest once in a while, but it's not easy to live. So I wonder then, I guess my follow up question before we wrap is like, you mentioned you have four children. Do you think your oldest will take on that same role?
So I've been really careful about that with him.
Okay.
Um, because I didn't want him to do that. So
Okay.
I resented that role as a
Okay.
kid. My mom was a single mom who watched the kids, who watched my brothers. It was me a lot of
Yeah.
times,
Right.
and so that role of being just like the sister kind of got blurred a lot, which is why I think Tommy and I didn't have the best relationship because of that.
Yeah.
And I also like took advantage of it, like having parties and stuff. But
That's
anyway,
true. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so, but when it was just me and the kids, like I really didn't want him to feel like he had to be the man of the house anymore. Like I didn't, he was, 10 years old, 11 years old, like that's too much on him. So
Absolutely. Yep.
I really worked, they were in therapy for, that whole year. And one of the things we talked about constantly, even though he would feel like that though, like he would actually say he felt like he had to, and I
Yeah.
would
I,
reiterate to him, like,
yeah.
you are not the man of the house.
Yeah.
Like you are 11 years old. You're just a kid. It's he's called to be a leader though, which I think is different than
I
being the
agree.
glue.
I agree. Yep.
And so it's interesting because I'm trying to pour that into him, like as much as I can, the confidence part, like we just had this talk actually yesterday because, his soccer coach's school was like, wanting him to be like this leader on the team. And I'm like, dude, like you are, like other people can see it and it's
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's
Like
inherent. Yes.
it's
Yep.
okay, like to be
Yeah.
that guy that other kids look to for direction, like,
Yeah.
like so I don't think it's as natural, but I think like he definitely has that. It's just him discovering it for himself. And then my other kids I call them the gingers, the three other ones, because they're all redheads. But they're just kind of, the younger siblings in a lot of ways. And they have their own little roles.
Yeah.
But it's funny, man. Like my two older ones, they're 2 years apart, and it's just like they're my brothers. Like they're literally
Really?
my brothers. Yeah. Like it's. I mean, like my older son looks just like Tommy, which kind of freaks me out
Really?
sometimes.
Well,
Yeah.
Tommy looks like you. I mean, I
Yeah.
mean,
So
yeah,
like we
yeah,
look a lot. And
yeah.
but then my 10-year old, he's like Joe. Like it's
Really?
just like so
Yeah,
like
because
the two of us.
I don't think Joe and you guys look as your
No, but
faces are
like even
different.
like his personality
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
And so like me and my brother just like die. There's like we're just like, dude, he's so much like me. I'm
That's
like, yeah.
so funny.
I'm like, so talk to him because you're like you got like because you were like, but like it's his especially
Yeah,
with sports and stuff. It's just
yeah,
really
yeah,
interesting. And
yeah.
but yeah,
It's a we could talk about this for hours, but my dog was the same way, and she's actually said like I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that. I want to be myself, and I think sometimes it happens organically. Like it's like, oh well, Abby, you're the older one, or like Abby, do this thing because I know But I think for the younger one, he is so self-sufficient and independent, which I think a lot is the case for a lot of younger siblings. But primarily, if they are younger siblings of someone who was easy to look up to, aspire to, and have a relationship. So I think that's where I'm fortunate, which it sounds like you guys are too a little bit there with your oldest. But I'm glad the way you started that answer, which is like that. That's not something I want to bestow upon her. I'm not going to sit her down and say, honey, what I can't do, I need you to do. Like I know mom's
yeah,
not here, for half the week, but she's not making meals. She's not doing mom stuff. I think there's a whole psychology I'm sure behind that where
yeah,
children of divorce take on that role, male or female, because they just think they kind of have to, and that's what they fall into. And that's not at all what it
yeah.
should be for children that age.
I
Um,
think too, like your relationship with her is so important. Like as a father, it's just so different than
yeah, it
like
is.
the
It is.
relationship that she's gonna have with her mom, like regardless, even if
Sure.
and so like just nurturing that relationship and letting her know like I got you.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think that for me, I didn't have, I
Right.
didn't really
Right.
have that father figure.
Right.
So, but I realized how important it is, even with like my own daughter. Like that's a relationship, I can't really supplement in. It's a very different relationship
Yeah.
between, I think, a father and daughter. And it makes a big difference. It sounds like, you guys you got the
Real.
right
I mean,
mindset.
yeah. Thanks. I mean, they're both. We talk about this, comes up on the show every time, and if they're sometimes, I try not to be cringe for them, but like they're amazing kids. I'm so fortunate and proud of them all the time, and I do try consciously to make sure that's a priority because I'm not negotiating that, right? That's what the result of the divorce is not going to be that relationship suffers too. If anything, I'm going to double down to make sure that she has that, and
Hmm.
she's just an amazing kid. And here we are looking at colleges pretty soon, and
Wow.
driving school starts next month, and so I mean things are changing, and she doesn't need me as much, but I think it's funny because I think I need her more than she needs me as we go through this time. So um, I mean, it's been so wonderful seeing you and seeing you smile and tell your story, and I'm just so happy for you. I mean, same as Monica last week. Like, we're not going to get into whatever happened last year, nor do we let for Monica, but it doesn't matter. You're here. You're here now. You're where you're supposed to be, and you seem just so happy and
Thanks.
yeah,
I'm
you
not
seem.
lying this time. I really
Yeah,
am. This isn't just
I can't believe you did a great job. I'll tell you, I had no idea that you were going through what. I mean, good. I mean, as an actress, you did a good job. pretending to be a happy high school kid.
I want to tell you something because I was thinking a lot about this, and I think that I I had such a great time just being a part of your, just I don't know, maybe being underneath your leadership as a mentor, I think. And I just wanted to tell you that because for somebody who didn't always feel like she was seen, I felt like you saw me. And like maybe like people would be like, oh, like yeah, like you're friends with Kulak. Like I actually was friend, like I felt like we were more friends. Obviously, like I respected you as a
Yeah,
teacher.
right.
But
Yeah,
it wasn't because I just felt like, well, he gets me. Like I can
yeah,
go to his class and he's like talking to me like I'm, an actual person and like and
yeah,
valuing my opinion on things. And so thank you for doing that because, I really enjoyed being a part of the paper and just like walking into your classroom and knowing like, we're just going to joke around and we're going to,
yeah,
or whatever. Like, or if
yeah,
I was having a bad day, like, you would either cheer me up or listen to me or make
yeah.
fun of me or whatever. So,
Well, thanks. I
um,
mean, I look. I said this at the end of every show. Like when you, it's funny because I don't want people to think we in the pre-show. I'm like at the end, say something about how we had a good relationship so that it ties together. I don't do that, but it's so. I just don't know how I got to be so fortunate. Like we talk about social media in our show. Without this, there's no chance we have this conversation, you and I. I mean, unless we happen upon each other and we have a lot of time to sit down and talk, it's just not going to happen. So
yeah.
having the vehicle, having the relationships that I know I can go back to, 21 years later, I'm just such a fortunate guy. So I'm glad you mentioned too about recognizing your face because I think that's an art that teachers need to develop. They need to see the kids' faces. You need to be able to understand when the face changes, you need to change. So I'm glad. I don't remember doing that, but I'm glad that you do. That's more important. Um, so I wish you all the happiness in the world. I hope your career continues to go the way it's going. I hope your
Thanks.
kids are happy and healthy. And thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it, Brenna.
Thanks for having me.
You're
Good to
welcome. All right,
see
I'll
you.
see you later. Bye.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, as always, for tuning in. The Hot Seat is executive produced by myself, Brian Kulak, with podcast production services provided by LaVinci Productions. Before you go, here's how to stay connected. Follow me on Instagram at Brian_Kulak. Check out more resources on my blog over at briankulak.net. Pick up a copy of The Hot Seat or my other book, Level Up Leadership, both available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And please, if you found value in today's conversation, leave us a rating and a review. It truly helps others discover these stories. Share this episode with someone in your life, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another conversation in The Hot Seat.